Thank you, Stefan. Christoph, thank you for that presentation. A lot of that definitely resonated with us here at Solenis in our evolution of IoT. I'm going to speak to our journey with Cumulosity and how we are really looking forward to leveraging all of the capabilities here of ThinEdge as we look to standardize our connectivity solution, as we look to evolve from varying functionality and connection methods now into more of a standard, globally scalable approach here. So I'll start by introducing myself, Sean Thomas. I'm our global IoT leader for Solenis. We are if I can advance the slide here, a leader in water and hygiene solutions. So what does that mean? That means we work with a wide range of customers out there to improve their operations. We work in many different industries. We've got a number of different verticals here, everything from heavy industry to light commercial. We have a pool and spa business. We work in industrial paper manufacturing environments to institutional and touch a number of different either water-based or hygiene-based applications out there. At our core, we're a specialty chemical company, but a lot of what we are doing is supporting those applications through monitoring and ensuring that the application of our chemistry into our customers' processes is well documented. We're meeting the key performance indicators that we've established. We're generating value for our customers. And certainly the digital component of this, being able to monitor these applications, begin to control these applications, apply advanced algorithms for control, machine learning, AI. All of this is really enabled by this digital transformation and evolving up that digital curve that Christoph showed in the last section here. So within Solenis, we began a full-scale global digital transformation a few years ago and really sought to consolidate our platform, consolidate our digital efforts in these different businesses, in these different regions, now into a globally managed, consistent experience and consistent platform for our customers. And what we found was that we had a lot of carryover from our architecture. We had a lot of legacy systems out there that were connecting in different methods, also providing us different functionality and different user experience at the cloud level. And we didn't have consistency. Some of our devices would connect using basic auth. We would have to generate the password for it, and it might only have basic telemetry coming into the cloud. Some of the devices were a little bit more advanced. We could do a bootstrapping connection to Cumulosity. But again, we had kind of limited telemetry, maybe limited device operations in there, really did not present us with a scalable solution. We've also connected a lot of third-party devices in here, where with a third-party device, you kind of get that third-party experience. You don't get to control the full functionality of that device. You don't get to completely manage that device through a single platform. You're now bouncing between Cumulosity and this third-party provider's platform. So we took a good look at this and we saw that using these commercial off-the-shelf devices, we didn't have a single device that could scale well across all of our businesses, across all of our applications, and present us with a kind of single architecture or streamlined architecture for taking care of device onboarding and provisioning, take care of a single method for really developing on these devices, for managing a CI/CD pipeline for delivery of evolving digital solutions, and certainly didn't see this as a scalable approach for maintaining device digital security going forward. So what did this present us with? Well, we're looking to ThinEdge here to solve these different challenges that we have in our global fleet of devices in the thousands here. So trying to get away from this idea of a unique deployment architecture for each of our devices out there. We've got within our divisions regional teams that are working on developing these IoT devices. Each one of those teams is developing on a different piece of hardware and a different deployment architecture, ultimately, that we need to support, and that our digital security team needs to be able to audit and attempt to standardize. I mentioned the device provisioning process. We have support teams that assist with this process. It's not scalable in its current form. We have different ways of generating credentials and applying those to the devices. Nothing really scales well in an automated fashion. That presents a challenge then for onboarding the tens or hundreds of devices per day or week that we may want to begin onboarding. That is a manual process at the moment. Certainly the diverse device authentication methods out there presents a challenge. As we are working in critical industry, we're working in a lot of industrial environments. IEC 62443 applies to a lot of these devices and the interconnections that we're seeking to make into these processes. So standardizing on a best-in-class authentication method, and as Ruben did a great job of demonstrating there, incorporating HSM and automatic certificate renewal, managing the creation and life cycle of these certificates now with the Cumulocity Certificate Authority is a great opportunity for us to standardize on a single device authentication method. The disparate data models. So each of these commercial off-the-shelf devices that we've been using so far has a different way of sending data to Cumulocity. We don't necessarily control the entire message structure. A lot of them can't provide the additional metadata that we want to provide for these devices. That's an opportunity here with ThinEdge to standardize again on our ability to really tailor this device configuration to the application, to the asset that we are supporting. Inconsistent device operations. So this is where we want to evolve up that digital maturity curve. We want to be able to perform remote device operations, either for, say, changing a set point on a device at a customer location. Perhaps we want to change the configuration of the users on that device out in the field. We can now do this in a consistent manner through ThinEdge and expand our functionality of these devices. Where we might start with telemetry only, we might be able to evolve this now into more of a two-way experience, a consistent experience, and ultimately be able to achieve these business outcomes. As I look at our opportunity here using ThinEdge, this is now going to support our expanding business cases here, as we want to incorporate more advanced control algorithms, as we want to allow for remote management, both by our Solenis teams as well as our customers. This is going to allow us then to achieve these business outcomes through a standard architecture, a standard connection method, standard authentication method here. We can support these IoT devices across their entire product lifecycle management and allow us then to deliver on these more advanced business outcomes. Quite frankly, we just cannot achieve this with the basic commercial off-the-shelf devices that we're starting with. ThinEdge is going to allow us to evolve this a little bit further. I'll end it there. Certainly, any questions about Solenis and our IoT evolution?
Thank you, Sean.
Maybe, sorry, Christoph?
Yeah, I just have one question. So how far are you in the implementation of this? Are you still basically at the very start, or how far have you gotten?
Yeah, we're certainly early on. I think one of the things we were looking for was that scalable authentication. Cumulocity Certificate Authority provides us that. We're looking to build out our development infrastructure so that we have centralized code development. We have a standard template that is just wrapped up. So we're now at the beginning of the migration of our primary IoT device development now into ThinEdge and beginning that deployment. So I'd say we're still at the very beginning of our journey here with ThinEdge in production. We've had great experience with ThinEdge over the last year and a half, 2 years in a development environment and limited beta releases, but certainly the beginning of our production journey here.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Sean, this is Miguel,
Miguel.
US. I'm in Texas. I was curious, are you guys looking at like EU regulation? Do you have customers in the EU? And
Absolutely.
are you looking at like how ThinEdge works into like CRA readiness, et cetera?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, we're a global company. We've got a large business base in Europe. We need a cutting edge standard here, a standard connection method, a standard device management method. Again, I mentioned IEC 62443, RED, all of the regulations that we see coming out of specific regions apply to us, and we're looking to hold ourselves to that type of a standard globally. So definitely this is a facilitator for complying with these regional regulations in our business.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I was more just going to ask a general question, whether there was like what's one missing feature that ThinEdge doesn't have that you would like to see in ThinEdge?
Yeah, I second the comments there on pass-through, and I put that into the chat. Certainly, I see that as an untapped potential, where what we're looking to do is we're looking to manage risk of connecting devices in parallel to multiple device management platforms. We're fortunate that we have the cellular infrastructure set up in place, private APN, VPN backhaul. We can access a lot of these devices through our own internal network, but having an in-platform method that we can scale to provide that pass-through access, that additional connection method directly through the ThinEdge agent, through the Cumulosity authentication process and authorization process, that would be a very welcome addition, a lightweight agent that we can support through that single platform that is going to consolidate our exposure out there to keep us from needing to connect to multiple device management platforms.
Yeah, okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Chris?
Hi guys. So one question from my side regarding, let's say, the harmonization efforts. Like how compatible is ThinEdge regarding the different HSM vendors? Like there are standard frameworks to attach to, for example, firmware updates, but there's also, let's say, a variety of HSM vendors out there. So is there also room for harmonizing, let's say, the interaction for different vendors?
Is this question for Ruben or Self team?
I guess it's for Ruben. Like, is it a standard way to support that, or is it always different how you would, let's say, adapt to these requirements?
I guess if you're talking more like really AV update mechanisms or full operating system, or
no, like certificate handling of HSM.
HSM.
vendors,
Sorry,
right? Yeah, so no, I was using that as an analogy. Like, are there differences with HSM vendors?
Yeah, so basically the interface that we support is called PKCS11 or crypto key, I think is the Linux C library. So that is the generic kind of interface. So that was at least a commonality for us to even this, because we had the exact same question when to support HSMs, it was always a little bit of the difficulty. What do you mean by that? And everyone had a different answer for their preferred HSMs. But it's still, so if you, TPM2, I would say is like the go-to. If you can do a TPM2 module, choose it. But we also found a lot of customers will have like brownfield devices that, you know, if you don't have a TPM2 chip on the device, there's not much you can do about that. So they result to, as a kind of next best thing, a USB-based token thing. The only advice that we could kind of give is not all USB tokens are the same. So you really have to check that it has a PKCS11 interface, and as long as it fulfills that interface, then it's compatible with ThinEdge. So that is basically the standard for connecting to generic HSM. So that's pretty much the go-to standard. So that made our lives a little bit easier, definitely, to be able to support that.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
thanks for that.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe an
that's still
explicit example, like YubiKey is probably one that comes up a lot. The default YubiKey, which is 100 euros, isn't fully HSM or like PKCS11 compliant. So it half works. Like the key generation isn't compliant, so you can't do that through the interface. But you can do like read it. Whereas the Nitro key is compliant. It's pretty slow, but it's compliant at least. So you really just need to read the specs on whatever hardware you're looking to when it comes to HSM. But if you can, TBM2s, over time, this will become a default, I would assume. But there's also a lot of like trust zone, but I believe that also requires a bit more interfacing to even be able to support that.
But if there are such customer requirements, are we open to enhance it?
Yeah, absolutely. But PKCS11 is definitely a standard. So for us, it's also about standardizing things as well. So if there's obviously enough users, we're happy to be persuaded by those users to warrant the extra development effort to kind of support such features. But it's also like if you're opting into a HSM, you don't want to pick something exotic that no one else supports because again, locked into that. So using our guides at least also helps you if you choose to whatever other solution you wanted to switch to, so you don't get locked into hardware, also hardware lock-in as well as software lock-in. Yeah, more than happy to have like a dedicated session because it is kind of complex if you've never touched the topic. So yeah, more than happy to have dedicated calls or something in a bigger group if people are interested.
Yeah, I guess that clarifies it. Yeah, thanks. And one follow-up question that's kind of also targeted towards the CRA compliance, as it's necessary for to update firmware. I mean, within ThinEdge, there are firmware update processes that are out of the box compatible, right? Could you list them, and maybe there are, let's say, people in the call who can, let's say, find the parallels to the existing integrations, etc. So maybe we can extend on that and extend Cumulosity to being compliant with existing firmware update mechanisms.
Yeah, so the update mechanisms, so we're talking AB updates here, so full operating system updates, because the idea behind that is you want a robust update. There's no point updating the operating system and it half works. You need a rollback mechanism because generally embedded devices can lose power at any point in time. There are a few other strategies for minimizing this, read-only petitions, whatever, but they also have its limitations. So AB update mechanisms, so they always require you to be able to be in control of the image you're updating. So you need to be able to build images. Some people don't know that. You need to be able to build. So if you're talking AB updates, think image building. So we have 3 examples of firmware updates or like working integrations. So you usually only choose one most of the time. So we have Mender was the first one. So the OSS variant, not the paid version. We have Rock, so from Pengutronics. And then we also have kind of like the newcomer, Rugix, where, hi Maxi, you're on the call, to support basically that situation. So all have like a few different kind of trade-offs. So it's about choosing the right thing for you. And again, like ThinEdge, we try to give freedom of choice also with the solutions that we present and integrate with. So it's really choosing one that kind of works for you, whether you want kind of like Delta upgrades. That's a nice feature that Rugix provides. That's probably provides the most features out of the box compared to other features. Rock is a very close second. So there's a lot of examples there. Probably so those are the biggest players in the game. The only one missing is SW update from the mix. We currently don't have an example of that. But the integration, if you look at the other integrations, just follow the exact same thing and just call SW update. So it's a very, very similar kind of setup. It's just we haven't, looked at the integration, but there's no missing features from a FinEdge level. Still driven by a workflow to do this complicated, like deploy it and then reboot to a different petition, check it, and all of these kinds of things. So the workflow model that we use works very, very nicely, and that's why we actually created the workflow model to support all these firmware update mechanisms. So we've validated with 3 different implementations. So I'm guessing an SW update is more, if you know SW update, then it will be a breeze. It's just we don't particularly have experience with SW update, so that's probably the only sticking point for supporting that. But we're more than happy to, if someone is an SW update fan or is knowledgeable in it, we're happy to kind of work together to add it to our Yocto integrations, because again, promoting the freedom of choice from software levels. But the important thing is we didn't want to roll our own update, because then we have N+1 standards out there. So we already have tried and tested solutions. So we want to utilize the open source community as much as possible and not do everything ourselves, because that also adds complexity and it also means a lot of people are already using these. So they're going, well, if I have to switch to ThinEdge and I have to switch my AB update mechanism, then it's a harder to pick ThinEdge up. So yeah, that's why we decided not to roll our own and get into that space, but reuse the existing great technologies out there.
Okay, thanks. That makes sense. Yes. I mean, don't want to take all the time for the questions, so maybe there are other people with questions.
You're taking over my moderation part now. Great.
Sorry for that.
No, it's fine. Are there any other questions?
Maybe just a tidbit from, so there was a lot of features. If you've been looking at a repository, you'll probably see a lot of great features coming up. So I think the next community meetup will have some really, really nice features. Of course, also like the smaller ones, like the units and measurements. That's probably been a long-standing ticket that we kind of had the idea, but never really pulled the trigger to actually do it. But again, I think it's great because we're also driven by our users. So if no one's asking for it, we're going, well, it mustn't be a priority. So please, if it is important to you, reach out to us or create a GitHub ticket, because that really drives our priority. And we're also flexible. Like if you have deadlines that you're willing that you need to meet or something, then can reach out, and that's why we have like the support. So if you have the official ThinEdge support, then you can kind of have a bit more say in timelines to meet specific project deadlines. But yeah, we've had a lot of great tickets recently. Like they're all been really small, minor ones, but improved the user's life in the end. And we didn't realize that was that would be an improvement. User reached out, we had it resolved in a few days, and that's it. So that's kind of our way of working. We like to be a little bit quite reactive there. And if you look at GitHub commits, you might see a few kind of interesting things when it comes to like keywords like smart functions and configurable mappers and stuff like that. That will definitely be something to show for the next meetup. But I don't want to give too many details away, but it will be an interesting spot to watch.
Okay, last chance for anyone asking additional questions. 3, 2, 1. I don't think we have another question. So thank you, everybody, especially to you, Christoph and Sean, for joining the meetup and sharing your insights. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you, of course, Ruben, for giving insights in the latest ThinEdge updates. And thank you to all the community for joining and asking questions and being part of our community and ThinEdge community. Then see you in one of our next meetups. See you guys.
Thanks, everyone. See you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you as well. Bye-bye.
Bye.